Although everyone is innocent until proven guilty, we did confirm this morning that our suspect's DNA has been a positive match to the DNA that we suspected to belong to our suspect at the scene. During an interview with investigators, the suspect indicated that he did commit these murders. We executed a search warrant at his residence. There were articles found there that are consistent with being involved in this particular crime, and I will let Major Rhodes speak more of that or more to those details. We do believe he acted alone. We have absolutely no reason to believe that there's anyone else involved, and we do not anticipate any future arrest or any other arrests beyond this suspect. I'm going to go ahead and pass off to Major Stacy Rhodes. She can walk through a little bit more of the information, and I'll return to the podium and we'll answer any questions we can.
Well, good afternoon. As he indicated, I'm Major Stacy Rhodes. I oversee the Criminal Investigation Division for the State Police. And I kind of want to walk you through how we initiated and progressed through our investigation. So, as you all know, we responded to a call for service at the state parks. Two young children were found and indicated that something had happened to their parents on the trail. That initial information that came from the kids gave us our first starting point, which was a description of a suspect. There was another witness at the park that we encountered that gave us additional information about the suspect and a particular vehicle that he was seen leaving the park. With that, we took the information, completed and let me kind of, we'll start there. So from there, we had a pretty good description of our suspect. We did our initial release. Other witnesses came forward that were on the trail during the time that the murders occurred that did not see the murders, but brought forth video footage, photographs that they had taken on their day trip to the park. From that, we obtained a photo. We interviewed witnesses and were able to compile a composite sketch of what we believed our suspect looked like. With that, we received dozens and dozens of tips. With the initial vehicle information that we received, it being a black sedan, one of the initial descriptions was that it was sporty. From that, we received well over 5 or 6, maybe close to 10 videos of this particular car from homes and businesses along the routes in and out of the park. So we were able to ascertain a pretty good description of this vehicle. So with that vehicle information, that became critical in identifying our suspect. So with the photos or the tips that came in with the composite and the photo, as the Colonel said, we received over 500 tips. And initially we were using the names and information to come out to compare with, did they have black vehicles? Did they meet a certain criteria of vehicles? But as we began to hone in on the vehicle, it became clear that it was a Kia Stinger. And we used that information to vet various owners. And our suspect was identified, and with that, we sought him out and we located him at a local barber shop there in Springdale. We took him into custody, and with that, we spoke to him, and he made statements indicating that he had committed these heinous acts. And our job didn't stop there. We executed a search warrant on his house and also on the vehicle. We are still waiting a lot of testing at the crime lab. But as the Colonel said, DNA that was recovered at the initial crime scene matched his DNA that we pulled last night.
Good afternoon. My name is Brandon Carter. I'm the prosecuting attorney for Washington County, Arkansas. The first thing I want to say.
All right, we are going to take a break here. Of course, we're going to stop it so we can bring you back. We can hear everything from the prosecuting attorney, but she just detailed really what sounds like an outstanding investigation to catch the alleged killer very quickly, saying he admitted he did it, that he committed these heinous acts. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Tonight on Closing Arguments, jurors are weighing the evidence against two parents accused of trying to kill their daughter. We're diving deeper into key evidence as deliberations continue.
Closing Arguments, tonight at 8/7 Central, only on Court TV.
These are the cases that captivated the world.
Couldn't keep my life straight.
They were killed by their own children.
That challenged the legal system and ourselves. Court TV, Legendary Trials.
It's a busy day here at Court TV, but we don't want you to miss this. We're going to go back to Arkansas. We are listening to a presser on the man who has now been charged with murdering two people while hiking with their kids at Devil's Den State Park. The two children, 7 and 9, the daughters were fine. They're with family. We want to go back in for more. We just heard the details of the investigation leading to the arrest. Now we're hearing from the prosecuting attorney.
Good afternoon. My name is Brandon Carter. I'm the prosecuting attorney for Washington County, Arkansas. The first thing I want to say here today is that my thoughts are with the Brink family. There are 3 girls who tragically lost their parents in this case. And although today is a good day for law enforcement, there's a shadow over it because of the tragedy that occurred on Saturday. I want to commend the state police for the work they did in this case. I couldn't be more proud to be in Arkansas today. I couldn't be more proud to be a resident of Northwest Arkansas right now, and I'm confident and satisfied with the work that law enforcement did in this case. Especially, I want to note the cooperation I saw between local agencies in this case. I could name them all off, but I have a list here of 7 to 9 agencies that worked hand in hand to quickly solve this crime. And I commend every law enforcement officer that worked on this case. I also commend any member of the public that provided us information that led to the solving of this crime. I want the public to know that they're safe. The defendant in this case is innocent until he's proven guilty. But I'm confident that we have the right defendant in this case, and that the public need not worry going forward. Someday they're going to open Devil's Den State Park, and I'll be on the trail myself when that happens. The defendant will be spending time in Washington County Circuit Court over the course of the coming days. It is my intention to use the full weight of my office to bring this defendant to justice for the Brink's family.
Before we open for questions, just want to touch real briefly on something that gets lost in this sometimes, and that's the family story. We've spoken to the family quite a few times over the last several days, and what we heard consistently is what a loving mother and father they were, loving husband and wife that they were towards each other. They absolutely protected those girls to their fullest extent, to the point that it cost them their lives. We're in awe of this mom and dad. We're also in awe of these girls. The information that they were able to provide to start us down this path, to be able to make this arrest, it all started with those 2 little girls. It's incredible. We also don't want to forget that there was a 3rd sister. Thankfully, she was not with the family on the trail that day, but she suffered just as tragic of a loss, and we need to keep that in mind. Because of that, I would plead with you and the public to please be sensitive to the fact that there's a family that's grieving. it's hard to express, because I can't understand it, what they're going through. Misinformation hurts. Speculation hurts. When they read things, when we talked to them earlier today, they expressed that to us, that they're reading things in social media, they're reading things that are just simply not true. And people are speculating, they're talking about things that are not factual, and it hurts. There's no place for that. Along those lines, we have to be very careful in an investigation to be calculated in the amount of information that we put out and when we put that out. I can tell you that this investigative team had one mission and one mission only, and that was to put hands on this suspect and to get him off the streets. And on a daily basis, we got together and we talked about what we felt like that we could put out to the public and what was going to be advantageous for us in the investigation and what could potentially be detrimental. One thing that we did not want to do is put information out that was going to take attention away from someone that we needed to look at. You have to remember all the information that we're working off of started with two little girls that witnessed the most horrific thing that you could ever imagine. That was the base of everything that we had. So we had to be careful about relying solely on that information. We had to collaborate that. We're also working in an environment that is half a mile into the woods. So by the time that we get the information from these little girls, and then we collaborate that with members from the public, they can talk, or they can, give us further information based on the suspect description and things like that, and then that leads us to a vehicle, and then that leads us somewhere else. This is not an episode of CSI. It's not going to be wrapped up in a 1-hour episode. It takes hours and hours to develop that information, corroborate that information, and know that it's good information, and know that it's something that we can put out. The last thing that we want to be responsible for is putting information out that's going to hinder the investigation or hinder someone's their likelihood of calling us and putting us onto a suspect that we need to be looking at, because it didn't meet all the markers that we thought it should meet. So I hope you can be understanding of that, and I hope as we move forward from here that the speculation and a lot of the talk and a lot of the chatter, especially on social media, that people will be very sensitive to that. This family's been through enough, and they don't deserve to be victimized any further than they already are. And with that, I'll open it up for questions.
Colonel, can you elaborate more on what was the reason behind this? What was the motive for this? Was this random, or what happened there? And what was the cause of death? How were they killed?
As far as the motive is concerned, it's part of the investigation. It's two parts. The first part of the investigation is always going to be to identify and apprehend the suspect. The second part of the investigation is a lot of the whys and a lot of the details. That's still a part of the investigation. I can tell you that we have no reason to believe that there was any known association between our suspect and our victims. There's nothing to indicate that at all. It appears to be a completely random event. As far as the weapon that was used, it was a knife. Our victims died by stab wounds. Yes, ma'am.
Thanks, Colonel. We've spoken to a few parents from students who he was their teacher in different states, and they all kind of gave this synopsis of perhaps he was a predator. Their children felt like he preyed on younger aged girls during his time teaching in those states. We were wondering, have you been exploring any connections to the crimes that McGann may have been connected with, and any indication that this was his first time committing this? Was he after those girls? Were those his target?
From what we know right now, we have no indication to suggest that the girls were his target.
you believe this was his first time, that he just went to that park that one time that day? I heard potentially somebody suspicious could have been there the weekend before. Was he just that first time at the park, or do you think he was laying out and calculating?
Honestly, that would be pure speculation on my part. Now that we have our suspect in custody, there's going to be a part of the investigation that's going to go back, and they're going to look at timelines, and they're going to look at kind of his movements leading up to that. And hopefully that will give us all a better picture of why he did this, how long he had planned this, things like that. But right now, that's all part of the investigation. It would simply be speculation on our part.